Last one. Alright. Let's go to Twitch. Sorry, I was trying to pull up Twitch.
Where are you going? Have you been invited somewhere?
We have been invited, Watson.
We have? Where to?
To the Baker Street Irregulars' annual dinner. They sent us an invitation. It is on the table.
A dinner? How could those street urchins afford anything like that? I can't understand your interest in them, Holmes. They're dirty. They wouldn't hesitate to steal your wallet.
Watson, you should be excited. It is a secret dinner. Its location changes every year. Read the menu. Sounds mouth-watering.
All right. We, the secret police of Baker Street, invite you, Sherlock Holmes, and Dr. Watson to our annual dinner. Menu, entree, frozen rat head salad. Is this a joke?
Not at all. Pray continue.
Main course, sow's udder in Danny Nutcracker's way. Sounds disgusting, Holmes. Hedgehog goulash. Street turnips in homemade juice. And it goes on.
Ah, I can hear them on the stairs now.
Oh, we can't go there. We can't eat that.
Watson, you'll hurt the feelings of those poor children. We have to go.
Oh, Mr. Holmes.
It is fine, Mrs. Hudson.
Mr. Holmes!
Wiggins, Dr. Watson is getting ready. He will be delighted to join us. You don't look well, my young man. Is there something wrong? Don't tell me the dinner is cancelled.
Mr. Holmes is my brother Leighton. He's in a prison cell. They say he's killed 2 men. You have to help us, Mr. Holmes, because I know he didn't do it.
Where is he now?
From what I've heard, they took him to the yard, and they gave him a good beating already. You know what they're like. They'll hang him. They won't look any further.
Holmes, we have to help him.
Well, and forget about the dinner? Wiggins, I'll take the case.
You're fantastic, Mr. Holmes. I'll be waiting for you at the crime scene. You'll be there, right? It's on Half Moon Street in Whitechapel.
Very well.
I learned every bow, by the way. Oh, that's awesome, Paul. Sorry, I am texting. And did we 3x in public lobs? Oh, you did it in public lobbies? You learned every bow. That's good. Okay, my bad. Minecraft is wild. Thank you follow April 4th, 2022. Mickey, thank you follow April 9th, 2022. Necromaniacs, thank you follow April 10th, 2022. Johnny Toe, thank you follow April 15th, 2022. Dragon, thank you follow April 15th, 2022. I'm trying to remember who that was. Alright, before we go half moon, let's go to the Scotland Yard. Every bow in a public match. I know how to do the wolf bow and the fire bow. Fire bow, the lightning bow, or storm bow, whatever you want to call it.
Mr. Holmes, whatever brings you here so late at night?
I'm interested in the case of young Leighton Chapman. He was arrested earlier this evening and accused of a double murder.
Yes.
I beg your pardon? That case is quite clear to the police. Or are there any new facts that we don't know about?
Who knows, Inspector?
Look, you are free to investigate, of course, Mr. Holmes. Chapman was arrested with a revolver in his possession, which you can find in the evidence room. The suspect himself is in custody.
Did you find anything else on his person?
A few personal belongings. Nothing particular, Mr. Holmes.
Thank you, Lestrade.
Okay. Oh, that's the coroner. We're not going to the coroner. So you got
These
some
cigarettes
loose
are filled
cigarettes.
with cheap tobacco. Nothing interesting. A cheap watch. Bought with his own money, no doubt.
Most likely bought with his own money. Yes, yes, yes. Okay, I can't select.
So this is the gun that Leighton was holding
Okay.
when he was caught by the police. It is a Webley revolver, a reliable weapon. It seems as though the shells were not removed from the cylinder.
Well, as they normally aren't.
Two out of the 6 shells have been fired.
Oh,
There
jeez.
were 2 shots. Please escort this suspect
Okay.
for interrogation.
This isn't looking good. This is not looking good.
Good evening, Mr. Chapman.
Who are you? I've got nothing to say. It's all a mistake.
Calm down, Leighton. I have come here to help you. To find out if you truly are innocent, as your younger brother Wiggins has told me.
My brother? You know him? Then that means you're...
Sherlock Holmes.
Oh, blimey. All right, Mr. Holmes. I'll tell you everything.
So he's got a scar. Recent beating, recent arrest, hothead, yeah. Fancy scarf, downtown fashion, cushy job. Office clerk. Western Gate prison tattoo, past the person who committed a crime.
Good. Tell me
Okay.
your account of what happened.
I left my work and I hurried up to see the fireworks in Whitechapel. I was late, so I decided to cut through Half Moon Street.
I don't know what that
Saw the
means still.
first fireworks light up in the sky.
How's it going, Sonny?
I bumped into a
Yeah, one more
constable on
time.
a corner before entering Half Moon. Then suddenly, what with all the firework flare, I saw 2 men. They were both lying flat in the middle of the street. I stopped where I was.
I'm out now. Oh, okay.
Thought about turning back to the police, but as I was thinking of that, I saw a
See you
third
later.
person. He was leaning over the body that was furthest from me. The second I saw him, he raised his head and he stared at me. In a flash, I saw his gun, but he made a dash for it instead and he escaped through Whitechapel Street.
Tarakag, no railgun. Oh, I don't know how to pronounce the first
so you
half,
might
but no
still have
railgun.
time to return to the constable.
I panicked. I didn't know what to do. Anyway, I approached the bodies just to see if they were still alive. I saw that one had blood pumping out.
That's
his stomach.
Titanfall 2?
He was dying. It was horrible. The second one was already dead. He had a hole in his head.
I
He was
don't
holding
got a
gun in his
railgun.
hand, though. I took it, and then I followed the third man.
Interesting. Pray, continue.
Yes, please
turned the
continue to incriminate
I
yourself.
saw the man standing in the middle of the street. He seemed to be in some sort of panic. And then, Mr. Holmes,
That's
something strange happened.
that's Paul.
I told the police and they laughed at what I said, but I swear to you, my words are true. I started running towards him. But then I was blinded by a flash. It was so bright that I hardly saw anything for a good dozen seconds. But I kept running forward. As I arrived in Whitechapel, I heard a woman screaming. And then I was caught by the police.
There's literally.
There wasn't a trace of that man.
So I played that game halfway
Found the
through
gun
that my
in that
file
place.
got corrupted, and I haven't
Couldn't
played
see
it
the murderer
since.
escaping and all that mess.
But there are no facial
Perhaps I was still
expressions.
half blinded at that moment.
It was really good though. I really liked the
Thrilling
gameplay.
account, my young man. Leighton, are you able to describe the person whom you saw standing in Half Moon Street?
That's not spoiling it. They just
Well, I
for
wasn't
anything
able to
they
see his
have
face
they
at all. It was
Like,
too
dude,
dark.
there's just
And
no
he was too
facial
far
expressions.
away.
Like, they just forgot to add
I
facial
could see his
expressions.
silhouette.
It's literally
And
just
what about
it's a
that?
dead stare the
Nothing
entire
so
time.
special.
No matter
He
what's
was
going on.
wearing a jacket.
I'm not spoiling it, I'm just
He
telling
was
you that
quite
they forgot to
average in
code
his size and
in
his weight.
I
facial
see.
expressions.
Was there anything else that struck you at the time?
No. But perhaps it's strange, but I can't remember the sound of his footsteps as he was running away. Perhaps it was because of the fireworks or the surprise of me seeing him.
We shall
No.
see you soon, young man.
How many... This is, by the way, this is the last crime. Got these two people, okay? Solve the crime at Half Moon Street. Investigate the crime scene and talk to a witness at Half Moon Street. Okay, so... Oh no, what's gonna win? I hope... Oh, I don't know what winning... I don't know what's winning. I don't know what's winning. Hentai... No, it is not. Alright, see you when you get back.
Locked. Locked.
What? Just... Oh, okay. Ugh. Okay. Found the bodies.
Please, gentlemen, leave the scene now. Oh, Mr. Holmes, is that you?
Good evening, Constable...
Constable Marrow. I was here with Inspector Aberline during the Ripper case, Mr. Holmes, back in '88. But then this is nothing like that case. With this one, we've got the murderer, the weapon, and the statements, which speak for themselves.
Of course, Marrow. But you know that appearances can sometimes be deceiving.
Victims.
Who were the victims?
The two men here, both shot. The stabbed fellow was Brian Vercotti, a well-known ruffian. The other, Kenneth Butler, a jeweller by trade.
Okay, jeweler by trade. I didn't know jeweling was a
You
trade.
spoke of statements. You have witnesses?
Well, I was there, so I gave my own statement. And then there were two other witnesses who said they saw the killer Chapman. Mr. Turner, a gentleman who lives in that flat over there. And Polly Powell, a flower seller, who was over at the far side of the street.
Testimony.
So, Constable Marrow, I should be delighted to hear your testimony.
I was standing at the north side of Half Moon Street. That was the side that you came from.
But you would have been unable to observe this part of the street, where we are standing now.
That is correct. But I saw the two victims slowly enter Half Moon Street.
Okay.
And then, shortly after, the fireworks started. A few minutes after that, the fellow Chapman rushed towards me and ran into Half Moon Street.
Please continue.
I didn't pay attention, but suddenly I heard a woman's cries and police whistles on the other side of Half Moon Street. I rushed over there and I saw the two dead bodies on the ground. When I reached Whitechapel Street, I saw Leighton Chapman. He'd been caught by two police constables.
Did you hear the shots?
I didn't hear any shots. The fireworks were all over the sky. They were so loud I couldn't hear anything else.
Fireworks.
What were the fireworks in honor of, Constable?
Well, today's Queen Victoria's birthday, Mr. Holmes.
Yes, I appear to have lost track of the days. It is May now, of course.
Yeah, you actually... January, February, March, April... Yeah, wow, we are in May.
Constable Merrill,
What a
what else
coinky
caught your
dink.
attention while you were running through Half Moon Street?
I saw
What is
nothing
it?
but
The
rats,
Is it the
and I took
Batman
time
games?
to
Yeah,
light
the Batman
every
games
corner
track
with
your
my
actual
lamp.
day.
Did you happen to look up at Mr. Turner's window when you were on Half Moon Street at that time?
Yes, I saw that the window was open, but no one was there. It was dark in the room.
Constable, your statements have been of great value to me.
Okay, let's examine the body.
He tried to stop the bleeding with his hand. Death was not instant.
No. The
wound
wound
penetrated his stomach. A dreadful wound.
Yeah, it's what we call no bueno situation.
Brian Vercotti suffered greatly. What a terrible way to die.
Yes. And then hand.
A tattoo from Westgate Prison. Vercotti must have done some time there. Brian Vercotti and Leighton Chapman both have identical
Yeah, they have identical tattoos, yes.
A piece of wood that has stuck between the cobblestones. Let us take a closer look.
You know, some of these things are so obvious, I don't even know why I need to use that. As if though it's a broom handle.
This shard of wood is quite new.
I get new wood every morning.
The bullet struck his head. This man didn't stand a chance. This is an ordinary key. I wonder what kind of door it opens.
Okay, let's see this. So, loot list, 2 victims. Okay. Dark window, 2 victims. Leighton's revolver. Where the victims were double murder carried out by one person. Okay. There we go. Get everything's. I'll talk to you, Turner.
Good evening, Mr. Turner.
I heard Constable Varro reply to you as Mr. Holmes, gentlemen. I've heard of you. And, well, I know things about this evening.
Excellent. Might we hear your story?
Sorry, so I was texting a friend about how I can give up on my sobriety. Metal class, blah, blah, Korean war vet. Missing buttons. Poor life. Require support, weak leg, limping. And it's got a fat nose.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
I was already in bed when the fireworks started. A few moments after, I clearly heard 2 gunshots from outside.
Please continue.
I quickly got up and I grabbed the lamp from my nightstand and I rushed towards the window. I looked down and I saw 2 bodies. And there was a man with a gun who was standing nearby.
Where exactly?
Well, near this body.
Did he notice you?
I don't think so. He rushed towards Whitechapel Street without looking around.
Mr. Turner, did you see anyone else in the street?
No, I saw no one but that man. The murderer. The fellow they caught.
Were the 2 shots you heard consecutive?
Yes, there was a very short pause between them, and they sounded different somehow. It seemed to me that the second shot was louder than the first.
That is an interesting comment.
That is very interesting. Cause why would the
Mr.
if it comes from the same
what were your
revolver?
actions after you stepped up to the window?
I was afraid that the man with the gun might return, so I stayed close to the window till I saw the policeman coming in the Half Moon from Whitechapel. Then I walked out to tell them everything I saw.
You have helped us a great deal, Mr. Turner.
Yes, no, you really have. Different shots. Turner could hear the contrast between 2 fire shots. As a fact, 3 shots were made as the first single shot was fired and then 2 guns fired. Turner could hear the contrast between 2 fire shots as they were made from different points in Half Moon Street. No, because that wouldn't have made the biggest difference. That literally would not have made a big difference. Sure, but that's not. I don't think that's it. Conflicting statements say that he ran at the window. How do I resolve that?
My brother, Mr. Holmes.
I know you. Hold on. Let's talk to this lady first.
Mrs. Powell?
What do you want?
My name is Sherlock Holmes. I'm assisting the police with their investigation of the crime that took place this evening.
Well, I've already gave my testimony, but very well.
Could you tell us everything that you may have seen or heard?
Yes. I was selling my flowers as usual, and then the fireworks began, in honour of Queen Victoria. I enjoyed those. But then, all of a sudden, a young lad ran out of Half Moon Street and stopped just by me. He had a gun in his hand. He was like a ghost, and all covered in blood. It was dark, but I could see him, because of the flashes from the fireworks.
And then?
I screamed as loud as I could. I knew that a policeman should be on duty in the vicinity. He had no time to escape. 2 constables got him. Then another constable came out from the very same street, and I heard him talking of a horrible murder.
Mrs. Powell, did you hear the gunshots?
I'm not sure. You know, what with the fireworks?
Did you see anyone else leaving Half Moon Street prior to or at the time of the crime?
No, sir, I did not. Even with all the fireworks, I was very attentive, as I'm always on the lookout for customers.
Yes, understandable.
My thanks to you, Mrs. Powell.
Imaginary man, the person William Jebb describes his statements is a figment of his own imagination created to vindict himself? Maybe. Most likely. The witness testimonies in the crime weapon clearly point to one possible color chip. Okay. Talk to Mr. Turner and check the view from his flat.
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr.
Let's go up
Holmes.
top before I reenact.
Mr. Turner, you have stated that you remained close by your window after the crime. Is that correct?
Oh, yes, Mr. Holmes. I stayed at my window until the policeman arrived to examine the dead bodies.
That is very interesting, Mr. Turner. Constable Marrow stated that he did not see anyone at the window when he was running through Half Moon Street.
Well, I think Constable Marrow and me, we might have been distracted by the whistles and shouts coming from Whitechapel. We could have missed each other somehow. You understand what I mean? It was a bit of a stressful moment, to tell you the truth, sir.
Allow me to form my own theories, Mr. Turner. Would you mind showing me the view that you had from your window?
Not at all, Mr. Holmes. Please, follow me.
Mr. Turner appears to live very modestly.
Fireplace. Examine.
The papers are almost entirely burned. I am unable to see what's written here. These words are illegible. This fire is dying out. It was last tended to over an hour ago. The papers were thrown into the fire just a short while ago. Mr. Turner was roused from his bed by the sound of gunshots.
Ooh.
The books on this shelf are in a mess. It looks as though Mr. Turner was trying to find something in a hurry here a short while ago.
Ugh. Oh.
This walking stick is broken. It was placed here quite recently.
Oh, no.
A perfect match. So, Mr. Turner broke his stick when it became stuck between the cobblestones. He did not mention that he was so near to the victims.
Oh, wow. No, bro. No way. Examine the kitchen table.
This kitchen knife is quite sharp. There are pieces of shredded paper scattered over the table. This kitchen knife was used to cut the paper.
Bro, nah.
So, that's the view Mr. Turner had when he opened the window. Brian Vercotti's contorted corpse. The dead body of Kenneth Butler. Mr. Turner had a perfect view of the crime scene. He saw the bodies clearly, and Leighton Chapman standing over them.
Yo, no way, bro. Yes. Okay. Went out here. It's like, oh, look at that. Then he went down, grabbed some papers, broke his stick, came back up, put the stick back, cut some papers, and then threw them away.
So Mr. Turner used a book to hide an object that he found on Kenneth Butler's body. The question is, what did he find?
Let's go over there before I ask questions, you know what I'm saying? Fat prints.
I can see prints from greasy fingers upon the cover of this book. Let us take a closer look. Well now, what a find! A precious jewel concealed inside a book. A bracelet with a unique ram's head design. A distinctive feature of ancient Grecian artifacts, probably of the Hellenistic era.
Ooh, 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 ooh. Wait, actually, let's do the
Mr.
crime scene
Turner,
outside first.
If you don't object, I'll remain as your guest for a little while longer.
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr. Holmes.
I am unable to see any higher. I need to find something to lift my lamp.
Oh ho. Okay. Oh, what? I can't borrow the cane? I was gonna try to... Okay. See, she's got something down here that I can borrow.
Such a young man, and already a murderer.
This mirror is turned towards Half Moon Street.
Huh.
Locked. Locked. Locked.
Okay,
Mr. Holmes, did you see my brother at Scotland Yard? Is he all right?
I am unable to see any higher. I need to find something to lift my lamp.
where do I find this thing?
Locked. Locked.
Where do I find this thing to lift my lamp a little
I am
higher?
unable to see any higher. I need to find something to lift my lamp.
Oh, here we go. I don't think it's the one
This
that we're
should be
closest to,
useful.
but...
This is
Oh.
most definitely a bullet hole. The brick cracks are fresh. Watson, there was a third shot fired in this street.
Uh. I don't know. Regarding the jagged man who disappeared over the street, nothing to when all the 3 shots at the crime scene prove the presence of him. Oh no, I just did the reenactment, right? Yes, I just did. Don't know who to talk to those people about yet, but
Constable Marrow, I would value your assistance in this investigation.
It would be my pleasure, Mr. Holmes.
I would like to make sure that there are no places in Half Moon Street where a man could hide while you were running through it with your lamp.
All right, Mr. Holmes, what should I do?
Take your lamp and start walking, just as you did before, and try to find me.
Understood. I can see you very well, Mr. Holmes.
All right, Constable. Let's try again. I'll find another place to hide.
Here you are, Mr. Holmes.
All right, Constable. Let's try again. I'll find another place to hide.
that one actually maybe almost didn't get me. On in here. Oh, there you
Mr.
are.
Holmes, it wasn't difficult to find you at all.
It is obvious now. No one could escape Constable Marrow's lamp while hiding in the street.
Ooh. If we could assume that there was more, there was no way to forward or back out for escape, only up. Let's reenact the action and rekey the values described and attempt to climb the wall. Find a flare gun and climb up. Find a flare gun and climb equipment. How do I find a flare gun?
It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Mr. Holmes.
How do I find a flare gun?
This mirror is turned towards Half Moon Street.
Such a young man, and already a murderer.
Think they'd have one at Scotland Yard, or do I have to actually... let's hope they have one here. Hmm. The let's see. See if I can get a flare gun from this guy.
Mr. Holmes, what is the trouble with that lad? Isn't he guilty of murder? Mr. Holmes, what is the trouble with that lad? Isn't he guilty of murder?
What do I need? I need to find a flare gun. Where do I go find a flare gun?
Please. Leighton, I confess I am puzzled. Why should a young lad like you take a gun from the hands of a dead man and set off in pursuit of a probable killer?
I know. I keep wondering that, but at the time it was like a reflex. A criminal ought to be arrested.
Yes.
And he was armed.
You were willing to risk your life. That was a little foolish, unless you wanted revenge.
No, Mr. Holmes. I was just being brave and stupid.
I'm sure that you were, but I believe that you may have recognized one of the victims, Brian Vercotti. You knew that gentleman well, did you not?
However could you know that?
You have a typical tattoo of the Westgate Brotherhood upon your hand. I observed exactly the same mark upon Mr. Vercotti. You came to know him from your sharing a past prison sentence. Am I correct, Mr. Chapman?
Oh, God. You're right, Mr. Holmes.
Would you tell me a little about Brian Vercotti?
So the Scotland Yard won't give me a...
Once in prison, both of us joined one of these fraternities. During that year, we tried to help each other out, you know?
Now, you were quite young then, I believe.
Yes, Mr. Holmes, we were. We'd only stolen a pound of meat. After we were released, and when I saw what my little brother had become, I decided to work towards living an honest life.
And Vercotti?
He had a hard time. His sister had died in a Whitechapel dispensary while he was in prison. He had no family anymore. Our paths split. He fell back into crime.
So you lost him?
Yes. And for around 2 years, I heard no news of him at all.
We shall see you soon.
This the violent crime committed in Half Moon Street by could have been a personal motive. Where do I find a flare gun? It's not gonna be in Baker Street, is it? Okay, so
I'm...
Oh jeez. Just trying to find a flare gun. Stage an exotic method of murder. The original person, a young and beautiful woman, and their colleague. Yep. They don't care. Okay, go back to Half Moon. Because we need... Here we go. Up the wall. So, if we can assume that we were more than... only way up. Let's reenact the action, recreate the fire, describe it, and attempt to climb the wall. Mr. Chen said the. Because then if I look inside the deductions, right? Like if I go here, it says find a flare gun to emulate the fireworks to climb the wall. Okay.
Locked.
What's up with you, lad? What are you waiting for?
I'm waiting for my brother to be released.
Your brother?
The one that you caught, beat up and imprisoned.
Ah, the murderer.
He ain't killed no one, copper.
Watch your mouth, lad, else you'll be joining that worthless brother of yours. It would be my pleasure to assist you with your investigation, Miss...
I'll do anything to save my brother, Mr. Holmes.
Ask him, see if he has a flare gun.
Mr. Turner, how would it be possible for a man of advanced years, such as yourself, to rush from his bed to the window in a matter of seconds, as you have stated?
Well, I'm able to move very quickly, despite my age. And when the situation requires it, Mr. Holmes.
Yes. You limp, though.
I highly doubt that, Mr. Turner. I observe that you suffer a severe limp due to your injured right leg. It would have taken at least 10 seconds for you to approach the window. That means you could have easily missed something or someone in Half Moon Street during that time.
You're right, Mr. Holmes. I could have missed something. But it did seem to me that everything happened so quickly. Oh, time can pull tricks on you.
And what of everything else that you told us? Mr. Turner, it is vital that we have your complete and true statement.
Mr. Holmes, I do assure you that the other things I said were most sincere.
Mr. Turner, you were not sincere with me. Not then, and not now.
But Mr. Holmes...
This, Mr. Turner, does not look like anything that a poor man might possess. It is worth more than the home that you live in.
I can explain.
No, merely correct me if I am wrong. You saw Leighton Chapman through the window, but you also noticed a glittering object on the ground, this precious jewel. You walked down and took the bracelet from the body of Kenneth Butler, and when you heard the whistles, you hurried away. That broke your walking stick. It caught fast between the cobbles. Constable Marrow was unable to see you in the window as you were climbing up the stairs on your way back to your flat. Upon returning home, you hid the precious jewel inside a book.
Mr. Holmes, please don't send me to prison. I didn't do anything bad. I'm just a poor man. When I chanced upon the bracelet, I saw it as an opportunity to make a little money. I was desperate. I only took the bracelet, that's all, I swear.
You made a mistake by lying to me. But you are not a criminal. I believe that. Although I must return this bracelet to its rightful owner.
So, no flare gun. Where do I go and literally where can I find a flare gun? Oh, that also, yeah, that I was like, that also just got solved. So now, All we're trying to do is find this flare gun that I need for I don't know where I would find that. Would you look at that? It died while I was here. Sure. Let's look at the map while I go up and grab
A map of
stuff.
London and the surrounding area. It could be useful. A map of London and the surrounding area. It could be useful.
Hmm.
Lock.
Me all the time like that.
I'm just watching you, lad. I never know what to expect from people like you.
People like me?
Yes, street beggars and thieves.